All right, YouTube. Welcome back to quite literally the wood shop. I know I keep saying this, but you're literally in my wood shop right now. So, kind of took a break from making furniture for the last week or two. We were kind of busy before that, and just kind of getting back out here. But in the meantime, it's Saturday, I think March 4th, and I've got some. I took some notes and some things I want to talk about before it gets too late today. But anyway, I want to put some content out there because Saturdays, at least for me, Saturdays are kind of like boring content days. And nobody that I watch on like a regular basis really like puts out a whole lot. Everybody seems to want to enjoy their weekends, but I don't really have much of a life anyway. So if I'm not working, then I'm working in the wood shop. So let's start with the most obvious thing. Today, the price of diesel, $4.49 a gallon. That's up roughly 20 some cents from yesterday. That's roughly up, I think, 85 cents this week. My tank on my truck, I think, is a 30 gallon tank. So 30 gallons at, it's gonna hit $5. So 30 gallons at $5 a gallon, it's gonna cost me $1.50 to fill it, which is absurd. But as I'm finding out, I guess we have a plan for that. Now that we're sanctioning Russia, or we did sanction Russia over their fuel output and oil and gas and whatnot, and made it impossible for, well, I'm sure, we never get the full truth anyway. We're probably still buying from them, and now we're paying more for it, so there's more profit. But, if we are to shut down this idea of purchasing fuel oil and gasoline and whatnot from Russia, it looks as though we're in negotiations now with Iran, which I find interesting. Because, I don't think one good thing has come out of Iran as far as America's concerned in my lifetime, more or less. As far as I've been, as long as I've been like conscious of politics and global affairs, I feel like Iran has been nothing. I mean, at least I've been told that Iran has been basically nothing but a problem. And it's interesting that that's our fallback, that's our fall safe. Okay, don't buy gasoline and oil and natural gas from Russia. We're just going to go talk to another member of the axis of evil. I mean, right? Isn't that what Bush and Obama called, right? North Korea. I think it's like North Korea, Russia, Iran, I guess probably Cuba, and I'm assuming China, right? Isn't that the axis of evil? And now we're just like right away going to start purchasing fuel and whatnot from them. And not to mention we have no nuclear agreement with them right now, which I don't actually care about. I don't think that it's our business anyway that we should be involved. I don't think anybody should be involved. But we don't have there's no nuclear agreement with them, and I know that they're busy trying to enrich uranium up to that, whatever that, like 87% that you have to enrich it to make it weapons grade. So why not throw a whole bunch of cash at them because of the amount of petroleum products that we use on a daily basis? And yeah, that'll probably, they can use some of that money to go ahead and figure out and hire some better scientists and build some better facilities so that they can get their uranium enriched quicker, right? I mean, that's literally what's going to happen. You can't make this stuff up. And then, like, the other thing I want to talk about is I know there was, well, let's go back a little bit. Several months ago, there was a story in the news, and it kind of got like told, but like there was no like emphasis on whether it was important or not. But I think it's starting to rear its head as an important thing, because it's uh, I think there was a time where Australia was trying to was on the market for in the market for some nuclear submarines, and they were negotiating with France, and France was about to sign a deal with them that they would supply them with these nuclear submarines, but it was going to take them like 2 years or something to fulfill the order. And then America, we stepped in and we were able to evidently fulfill that order immediately. So we side cut or undercut France. And they talked about it a little bit on the news, and I'm assuming that France was really pissed off at us, but that never got like laid out there like that. I don't know how much a nuclear submarine goes for anyway. Literally probably like $100 billion or something. And I don't know how many they bought, but I remember the story being in the news briefly. Well, haven't you noticed since this whole Ukraine-Russia thing jumped off all of a sudden how like France has kind of been like buddy buddy with Russia? Like they had a phone call last week, and after the phone call, what the hell's his name? Macron. Macron said that according to Russia, the invasion is going as planned. Like, he didn't denounce the invasion. He didn't say anything negative about the invasion, about Putin, about what was going on. He just kind of like updated it like it was a stat. He was just like, yeah, the invasion's going just as planned. And I know that they're still buying fuel and whatnot from Russia. But I mean, it just seems interesting to me that France is clearly choosing a side and aligning themselves with Russia, I guess, going forward. So just something to keep an eye on. When we get to that point, if when I get some subscribers and whatnot, let me know what you think about that point. See if I'm right or not. The next thing I want to talk about is, I guess, like, for one, let's backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about what's actually happening in this whole battle, in this whole thing with. And I might have briefly touched on this in my last video, but my YouTube channels or feed is filled with with things about Ukraine and Russia conflict. And like I said, I checked 3-4 times today. I checked in the middle of the night since I don't sleep much at all. And I'm looking at these channels, live feeds of all over Ukraine, live feed of Kiev, and live feed in the other city that they have, and I'm not seeing nothing happening. But evidently, evidently Russia's blowing up nuclear facilities and some of their weapons depots and different things. It's that's what they keep hearing about, but I'm not seeing any of it. Not seeing any of it. Just on mainstream media, they have the ins and outs of it. But one thing I think that I want to touch on, and I'm not by any means justifying the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. If Ukraine is undeniably its own sovereign country and has been, I guess they were part of the USSR though, and I don't really know what happened with the USSR. I know it broke up when the Berlin Wall came down, and I'm probably gonna have to study some history on this stuff because I'm not up to date or up to speed with what went on with when the USSR broke up and what was involved. Was that them? Did the USSR collapse and these countries splintered off and had to become their own things? Or was it a forced thing? Was it like a thing forced by NATO or, whatever existed back then, the European Union, if that was available or around? Like, is that what happened to Russia? Like, was it like sanctioned? Did Russia fall on hard times and somebody took advantage of that time period to like basically drive a stake in the heart of Russia and break up the USSR? Because that seems to be the thing that Putin is after, is he wants to get back together with he wants to rebuild what I guess the USSR once was. And I don't know what all the countries that are involved in that, but I'm assuming it's like, obviously Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Lakova, I forget what it is. I know there's like 3 or 4 other countries that sort of border Ukraine and whatnot. I know Poland and Sweden and Norway and them weren't in it, but I am seeing the all those countries right above I guess what would be the Black Sea were all probably part of the USSR at some point, under the umbrella of what Russia was. And that seems to be what Putin's plan is to get that all back together and reform the USSR. And I'm not, I don't, clearly I don't want people to die, and I don't want there to be some big drawn out war and nuclear weapons being used and whatnot. But like, I don't really, if like, I don't know why Ukraine is fighting it, but Belarus is on board, right? Like maybe, like, is it a populist thing? Is it a populist movement? Is it whatever it might be? But what I do know is that it seems that Russia is trying to defend its sovereignty. All right, hold on a second. Sorry. One of these days, I'm gonna film one of these, and I'm not gonna have to stop it because of an interruption. So as I was saying, I'm pretty sure that of these countries that like are in this axis of evil, if you will, and believe me, I mean they're always, according to the media, the mainstream media, they are. They're crazy. They're a problem. They're this. They're that. Right? Like, let's talk about them individually. Russia. Putin is crazy. Putin interferes in our elections. Putin's hackers interfere in our telecommunications and our banking industry and our voting machines. And that's what we've been hearing. North Korea. He's crazy. They've been crazy for a long time. My dude is constantly just. Now that Biden's president, my dude is constantly out there shooting off missiles towards Japan, and everybody's like, oh, we'll sanction them, and we'll tell them that's unacceptable behavior. I don't think he cares whether it's unacceptable behavior or not. He did it again last night. He's just like if there's nobody that's there that's going to keep him in check, he's just going to do what he's going to do. He's like, today I wake up, I want to fire off a missile, I'm going to fire off a missile. Nobody's going to do anything to stop me. There is no, what are we hoping for? That one day he's going to want to join the world and sit on the stage and act appropriately? I don't think they care about that. They're rich and they run their country the way they run their country, and so be it. Until they step on American land and we got to defend against it. Let that nonsense happen over there, because that's what it is. It's all nonsense. You got China. Well, China's a little bit of a different story. For one, China's really smart. They set themselves up. And not only did they set themselves up, we gave ourselves away. We weakened ourselves in such a way. We went through this beautiful industrial revolution, right? We all learned about it in school. In public school, they taught us about the American Industrial Revolution and how spectacular it was and how we were independent and we could create anything. I actually was born and raised in Trenton, New Jersey. And one of our bridges in Trenton, it has a sign that says, Trenton makes, the world takes. That's one of their it's one of the big signs on their bridges. Because it used to be that Trenton was like an industrial town. And there are factories. I mean, my dad lived on a street and there was like big factories all around him. And they've all been torn down, obviously, and turned into like strip malls and low-income housing and blah blah blah. But yeah, we went through this incredible industrial revolution, and at the pinnacle of it, at the peak of it, and I guess after World War II, we let it go, man. We just let it go. We turned around and all of a sudden, for a little bit of profit, we decided, hey, we'll let them people over in China make this for us. And then we said, you know what? They made that. they can make that cheaper than we can make that here. So we're going to give them more. And we kept giving them more and giving them more and giving them more, paying them for all the products that they could make for us. You know, all the time, all of our big corporations and CEOs laughing all the way to the bank because what was happening was they were they didn't lower their prices. They sold the goods for whatever they wanted to sell goods for. And if the Chinese can afford to make it cheaper than they can make it here in the States, good job. You know, they got richer and richer and richer, and they swallowed up other corporations and other companies, and they've grown and grown. And this is where we are. This is why we're in this situation that we're in to begin with, because we gave all of our power away. We gave all our power to China. Well, you know, they didn't take it. We gave it away. And now we're sitting here, right? China makes, if I'm not mistaken, 90% or more of all of our medicines and like 96% of all of our medicine raw components. So like the few things that are made somewhere else, they still make the raw components for them. So like we're literally effed if like conflict breaks out and China decides to back Russia, and then one day China just goes, you know what? And you know, and our dollar, we destroyed our dollar. Our dollar's not worth shit anymore. And this whole thing sanctioning Russia, and now Russia's selling their own gas and oil using the yuan. So we strengthen the Chinese dollar. We weakened our own dollar in the process. We're about to start buying oil and fuel from the axis of evil, all the while China could end us in a moment. You know, from a standpoint that they could just cut us off of all of our medicines and all of our goods. You think we're in a supply chain disruption now? You wait until this idea that everybody's playing nice, and I don't mean that we're playing nice because we don't really have a choice in the matter. Our country's weak right now. Our country's very, very weak, and our leadership is very, very weak, and the world knows it. Putin knows it. Whatever the hell the President Xi Jinping of China, he knows it. Clearly, the dude from North Korea, he knows it. Everybody knows that we're weak, and you know, and once everybody's done playing nice and things get a little serious, I think we're going to learn the hard way. Unfortunately, I think we're going to get cut off in such a way. I really wish that our government and would see this and view this the way that, you know, a lot of people in the world see this, you know, and we should just sort of like form our own industrial revolution again and start moving forward. It's going to take a long time, you know what I mean? But it's the thing that could rebuild our dollar, could rebuild our infrastructure. I don't mean like from a political standpoint. I'm so tired of listening to these people vote on bills about rebuilding our infrastructure and the Green New Deal and this thing and that thing. I mean, look, another thing that happened today, which I find like really ironic, and you have to take it for what it is. You know, here you have a man who's made his living and his fortune selling electric vehicles, right? Tesla, Elon Musk. He makes electric vehicles. He's the first person to like sort of like commercially make electric vehicles on a mass scale worldwide for people to do. That's his business. That's what he does for a living. It's amazing technology, right? And he's out there saying, yo, America, you better start pumping your own oil again. You better start pumping your own gas again, because you guys are heading down you're heading into a bad place right now. Now, if I don't know who has to hear this, who needs to hear this, but like, if you got a man whose job and livelihood revolves around selling electric vehicles, then the situation that we're in right now is really beneficial to him. He could literally raise the price of Teslas, and you know, I know he's worth $200 billion as it is, but he could sell them for whatever he wants right now, because what else are you going to do? You know, you can't afford gas or any kind of heat in your houses or anything anymore. You know, he could rape the market with Teslas right now and become super, he could be the first trillionaire if he wanted to. And instead, he goes out publicly and says that we should start producing our own fuel and become energy independent again. Like I really wish that would like dawn on some people. Um, Back to what I was describing about Russia and I guess North Korea, if you will, um, and China. And I'll tell you the one thing, and I don't know all the ins and outs of this, but I'm doing some research on this World Economic Forum and this Klaus Schwab or whatever the hell his name is, and you know the guy who's talking about the Great Reset all the time that we're in the middle of, right? Because that's the other like the backstory I keep hearing is that Russia and China and this whole axis of evil, all the same countries that have been acting out in such a way for the last 20 or 30 years that never seem to be in line with what's going on. Well, they all have one thing in common. They reject globalism. Now, I'm not saying that they're running democracies like we have here, like we supposedly have here in America. You know, they might be more socialist. They might be more authoritarian. They might be closer to a dictatorship and whatnot. But like, I'll tell you what, China puts China first. Russia, all day long on every news program, putting Russia first. North Korea's been battling with South Korea for how long, right? Why? Because they want to maintain their own sovereignty. Um, Cuba's been fighting for their own sovereignty forever, and they're like 100 miles off the coast of America, you know? But that's what it is. They all are fighting, they're fighting globalism. They're fighting globalism, they're all trying to maintain their sovereignty, and they're not afraid to speak up about it and say that, you know, if you're Chinese and you're in China, China first, you know? You leave it to America and our mainstream media, and we're gonna pick and choose and point out all the evil things that they do and lay out all the bad about these things, and that's the only thing that ever gets reported that any of us see, you know? I've been hearing about the Uyghur Muslims for 2 years now. Uyghur Muslims, right? What a travesty! What it is. It's a travesty that they're killing these poor Muslims and they're stealing their organs. And they did that with another group of Chinese. I don't remember what they are. The Falun Gong or something. You know what I mean? They're just like basically run down the street, throw a dude in a van, bring him to some facility, rip out his kidneys, rip out part of his liver, no anesthesia, no nothing, and then sell their organs on the black market. That's what we're hearing about, right? But hey, I've been hearing about it. It's a travesty. Everybody should be up in arms. Somebody needs to do something. All the things that, you know, everybody says. And then what happens? The first time the question gets posed to Joe Biden, what's he say? Hey, well, you know, that's part of their culture. That's just the way that they do things over there. And bang, just like that, accepted. That's just the way it is. And yet we're supposed to be up in arms and outraged that these things are happening. You know what? Let it be. Let them be. You know, it's their country. They want to be, it's their sovereignty. They want to do whatever. I'm just saying, let's rebuild America. Anybody in government, please look at this. All right. I'm going to end this broadcast now. Somebody else came back out here, so till tomorrow, we'll record another video. Thank you for your time. Me and my son and you know my small little thing that we got going on here at Housing Talks. We appreciate you guys watching, and you know, leave me a comment if you watch this. If you think if you like the you know the things I'm talking about, and if there's anything else that you want me to hear about, because I'm just all day long, every day, I just take notes and things that I want to kind of rant about. So that's about it. Until the next one. Thank you.